There we go, take 2, because I decided to actually like try and see if I could clean the camera a little bit so it looks more visually pleasing or whatever. But yeah, it's been I think 3 days, maybe 2 to 3 days since the last upload, and since tomorrow I won't be able to do one in the morning. I don't think I'll be able to. I could, but I'll see, because schedule is more free during the morning than actually during the afternoon or whatever. So if I do in the morning, then perfect. But I'm gonna schedule. I'll schedule another one. So I'll be recapping in this one, and then talking about the any benefit and then max benefit in the next one, because it's something that I feel like could be useful to some people. It's useful to me, at least, when there's like a whole bunch of stuff to do and I know which ones are the best, but you know, you kind of feel like you want to postpone it or whatever. But yeah, it's like when you have limited time and you have to fill the time with something, but you don't know which ones to do, but you actually, like, you know which ones are, of course, better, but you have to like conceptualize it to actually do that. But essentially, the last few days have been, I'd say it's like during the like before, you know, progress was kind of like going like this, and then the last few days have kind of been a dip. It's not necessarily been a dip for, I won't say any negative reasons. It's more been a dip because, well, there was one day, I'd say there's one day where I could have done it, and then actually there was like 2 days, which pertains to the days I haven't, correlates to the days I haven't uploaded. It was like 2 days of those where I could have done stuff, could have actually like read, could have actually studied, well, I did study, that's the thing. Pretty sure I did mention that I was gonna shift the focus more to 3 specific things so I could get the most amount of progress there, and then focus on the other things such as this, which I have been doing. But these things, such as like the habits, like reading, journaling, exercise doesn't count, meditating, those things have taken like a back seat. But the problem is, as they've taken a back seat, it's a lot easier for me to not do them. But Jesus Christ, I needed to really wash my face before this. But yeah, it's like 11:50, which isn't too far off the actual schedule, which is nice, because, well, that's actually kind of crazy. 11:50. I mean, I would typically, I feel like I'd typically record this at like 10 or something, right? 10, 11, whatever, because I already streamed. So I've been putting a lot of focus into the actual editing and like streams and whatnot. So I uploaded second edit yesterday and a whole bunch of VODs, which is why I didn't do any sort of video yesterday. I was thinking of doing it, but then I was like, this is going to pertain to the next video, which is the any benefit and the max benefit. The max benefit actually comes from me doing those editing things, because that is one of my main focuses, compared to doing this. This isn't bad, of course, but it isn't the focus. So like, me utilizing the limited time I had yesterday to do this, to read and whatnot, would have been fine, right? But it wouldn't have given me the same amount of benefit as uploading actually main content, right? That's just how it is. I was thinking of streaming, but there was no time. I ran into like a lot of issues with rendering the actual video, and then just decided, fuck it, I'll do it tomorrow. And I did do it tomorrow. I did it before doing this, which is fantastic. Let's see, is there anything, what out of this can I take as like lessons? I'm trying to think here. Perfect. So in the whole graph, right? In the whole graph, like progress graph, like this dip, the moment you start dipping is interesting, because like maybe one of the first things I was thinking was that all the progress was gone out the window, which is kind of crazy because that's not how that works. Or I can, because this has already happened before, I've gotten like a bit more loose on what I'm actually doing and then stop doing it altogether, right? Which is important. That's the most important thing. But I think it's more detrimental to think this, like, small dips are going to lead to big dips, because it's, at least in my experience, every time I've thought a small dip was actually a big dip, I didn't do anything towards making that small dip into a small dip, keeping it a small dip, by actually going to do the things once again, like starting it up once again. So I just kind of like let it dip completely, because I was thinking that it was gonna be a big dip when it was only like a very small dip. Like 2 to 3 days is very, very insignificant. Like if you take like a whole year, 365 days, and you do not do something for 3 days, I mean, that's like very insignificant. Even like in a month, it doesn't even have to take a year, a week, 3 days out of a week where you do jack, but the other 4 you do good stuff. That is great. That is amazing. Obviously it could be like 7 or whatever, but fuck it. 4 out of 7 days where you do good things, and 3 out of 7 where you don't, is amazing. Because maybe before you were doing 7 out of 7 bad. Alright? So like a small dip of 3 days is like incredibly insignificant. If you graph it, you would see like a slight decline, but nothing like a giant chasm. Because like if you focus more on thinking, it's gonna be like a giant chasm. In my experience at least, maybe yours as well, it kind of does happen. Like you think it's gonna happen, so it happens. But if you think it's just gonna be like it's just a small whatever the fuck, like nothing happened, like just get back into it, then it's gonna be like, it purely depends on what you're thinking. I think it purely depends on what you're thinking. If you I'm doing a lot of like circles around the same concept, but I think that's actually a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing, because the more you hear, maybe the better your understanding or whatever, or like it sticks more. But the more you think it's gonna be a chasm, the more likely it is to be a chasm, because you think it's a chasm. But if you just think it's like a small dip, whatever, like pre-planned dip, just you planned this, and maybe that's like the right way to think about it, right? Maybe you just think that you already planned it, you planned this, so it's whatever. Like you planned this ahead of time, which is true if you're aiming for only 4 days of good and 3 days of bad in a full week. You could say it's planned or whatever. I feel like framing it as it's planned, because it is planned. Like these sort of things, while they may be random, they're definitely like the time that they happened is random, but these things are planned. Like dips are planned, like 100%. There's no such thing as like you going like that. You go like this, there's a whole like wave. But yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Peace.